From listener-supported KTOO, welcome to Juneau Afternoon, broadcasting live from the homelands of the Occoquan and on demand as a podcast. It's Wednesday, August 19th, 2026, and Juneau Afternoon is back from hiatus. I'm your host, Boston Christopher. Ganchish, Hawa, Tuxknusum, Salama. Thank you for joining the conversation. We've missed you. You may also join us via our live stream on KTOO's YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages. Join us over there. You can even leave a little comment if you want. Today, musicians Taylor Dallas Vidic and Matt the Electrician are here for some live music and conversation ahead of their show tomorrow night at the Amalga Distillery. We talk with UAF Cooperative Extension Agent Darren Snyder for another edition of Garden Talk. And we meet Meghan Holtan, new faculty member at UAS, teaching in the Master of Public Administration program. We chat about her new role and her research on climate impacts to housing in Alaska. Also, how her circus background helps in her current work today. That's right, her circus work. Those conversations are coming up this hour on Juneau Afternoon.
You're listening to KTOO's Tlingit Word of the Week. This week's word comes from Kehinak John Martin, and the word this week is ook.
Ook.
That means coho or silver salmon. And here's a sentence.
Yaktatachaya ukojiti.
It was from Yakutat that the coho were born. Let's hear it again.
Ook.
Coho or silver salmon. Ganesh Chish to Juneau Lance Twitchell, Goldbelt Heritage Foundation, and the University of Alaska Southeast for this audio.
Kehinuk John Martin was Tukdane Tan and a child of a Kagwantan man. He is from the Hunakawu, the people of Huna, and was a contributing elder and speaker at many language immersion gatherings in Glacier Bay, Yakutat, and Juneau. He attended boarding school in Skagway, and attended Gonzaga University.
Tune in next week for another Tlingit Word of the Week from KTOO.
Support for Juneau Afternoon comes from Emil Mackey at Country Financial, offering insurance for home, auto, and business, and life insurance to protect your family in case of death. Located in the Juneau Nugget Mall. More information can be found online or by calling 907-500-7017.
Support comes from Juneau Compost, recycling the community's food scraps and yard debris into compost since 2017. Serving households, businesses, offices, and more with curbside collection and drop-off options. Online at junocompost.com.
And now, welcome back to Juneau Afternoon from the red carpet stage right here in Studio 2K. It is Matt the Electrician.
I hit a home run, wasn't a long one, it was short fence, so I hit another one. Then I hit a line drive, just off the left side, didn't hit anybody, everybody's alright, just like love, just like love, just like I got a pop fly, staring at the blue sky, waiting on the come down, sun in my eyes. Then I got a ground ball, running to keep from falling right in front of me. It was a close call, just like love, just like love, just like love. I am in the outfield, I call it, stole some bases, I won some races. I'm too fast sometimes, I've been lots of places. Running on contact, unless I gotta get back. Might get in a pickle, working on a comeback just like love. Just like love. Just like love.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's Matt the Electrician live from the red carpet stage. Come over here and have a seat. Join Taylor there, Matt. You are listening to community-supported Juneau Afternoon on KTOO at 104.3 Juneau, 91.7 Juneau Ock Bay, and online at ktoo.org. You can also join us on our live stream over there on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. That was Matt the Electrician from this little 2-song LP, little ELP. What do they call them these days?
45.
45, right.
I mean,
those things.
Come on,
I don't know what they call them these days. What I called them was a 45 RPM.
I love that. That's so cool. And we'll hear the other song of that a little bit later, the recorded version of that. So that was Matt the Electrician, a.k.a. Matthew Seaver, folk pop singer based in Austin, Texas. He has been visiting and playing in Ketchikan for 20 years. I don't know why he's been avoiding Juneau. We'll find out. But he is going to be playing tomorrow night after being over in Ketchikan for more than 20 years. He'll play tomorrow night, his first concert. It'll be at the back room at Amalga Distillery with local music superstar Taylor Dallas Vidic. They both join me now at the microphones here in the studio. Gwyneth Cheese, Shatyadi, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you both here today. We're back from hiatus. This is the best way to kick it off with some live music. So how are you today? Gwyneth Cheese, Matt, what's going on?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just flew in today and I'm mostly awake. And I'm really happy to be here. It's been I've been here once, but not to play. As you know, sometimes the plane doesn't want to land in Ketchikan, and so I ended up here for a night once. But
I love that. Well, welcome to Juneau. It's so
Thank
nice
you.
to have you here. And Taylor, welcome in. How are you?
I'm so good, Boston, and I'm so happy that you're back.
Thank you so much. Of course, your album, Cat and Mouse, came out earlier this year. You had that awesome concert over there at Perseverance. You've now delivered all of your albums.
Let's not get carried away, but I'm very close, and I'm so grateful for all the people with patience for this one-person production line over here.
Well, it's been on my record player since I got my record, and I really love it. So thank you so much for being here today. So Taylor, will you introduce your friend a little bit? What do we know about Matt the Electrician? How did you all meet, and how did you finally convince him to come to Juneau?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how I met Matt, and then I'll let him tell you more about himself. But I was up in Anchorage last year, and there's a really cool show called Parlor in the Round, which I have heard rumor is maybe going to touch down in Juneau in the next 12 months. And it's one part improv, one part singer-songwriter showcase. It's just this really rad show. And Matt performed at it along with Marion Call, our local babe. And so I got to meet Matt. And Matt is hosted in Ketchikan by another Matt. I'm just going to keep saying Matt over and over again. His name is Matt Hamilton. He's a visual artist that I've been a fan of for many years. And we've become internet friends. So I got to meet 2 Matts in one night and learn that Matt the Electrician goes to Ketchikan every year. And I was like, well, hey, the next time you go to Ketchikan, can you make a pit stop in Juneau, because I love what you do and I would love for my town to get to hear and see you. So if you come, I'll put together some shows and we'll make it happen. And Matt said yes. So now he's here. He landed on an airplane and we're going to play some shows.
That's so cool. You have a private house concert, which is sold out tonight.
Yes.
And then tomorrow you'll be at Amalga in the back room, that new
Yeah.
space over there. What time is the concert tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I think doors are at 6 or 6:30. You can find it all on my website, taylorvidic.com. I will check while Matt answers
That's
your
okay.
next questions.
It's all good.
But yeah, and it's going to be an NA show, so a non-alcoholic show, which I tried to do over New Year's, and people responded really well prior to the snowpocalypse, but we had to cancel.
Oh, right.
But I just realized, there is a hunger in Juneau for non-alcoholic alcoholic events. Not that people are going to get sloppy on a Thursday night regardless, but it is kind of nice to know that when you walk in the room, we're all in a similar headspace. But Amalgo will be serving super tasty NA options. And of course, you can always stop in the distillery as a little pregame on your way over.
If you wanted to, yeah.
If you want to,
And
if
those
you must.
and the tickets are at your website as well?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a range of ticket prices based on what is financially comfortable for you, from a community-supported $15 ticket to, I think I put some kind of angel ticket in there for the people that have the funds and want this to work, because if this is the first time I've done something like this with someone like Matt, and so if this goes well, I really am excited by the idea of getting to bring other artists to town and showcasing.
Oh, so you're producing this sort of?
Yes,
Yeah,
I like to produce too.
Yeah, I know
sometimes.
you do. Yeah, so you're okay. You're getting into presenting. You're like, hey, let
Yes.
me bring you to Juneau and do the whole thing.
And I'll put my name on the poster too to entice some people, because Juneau like to.
Yeah.
We like to know who's on the poster.
Are you playing tomorrow? or-
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to open for Matt both
I see,
days.
okay.
I'll warm up the crowd a little bit before the main
see.
event.
Okay, so Matt, the burning question:
Yeah.
why have you been avoiding Juneau all these years?
Well, there. It wasn't just Juneau. I avoided Sitka and Kodiak, and I went to Wrangell once, so I guess I did go there. And no, I mean there was this guy Matt Hamilton who brings me to Ketchikan. He brought me many years in a row, and he didn't have networks in the other parts of Alaska, and so his focus was strictly on Ketchikan, and so he would bring me in, and I didn't. That was a fun trip, and the idea of kind of doing more than that seemed a little daunting. I had a lot of friends who toured other parts of Alaska, and I don't know why I never did, but a couple of years ago I finally went up to kind of the Anchorage. I played Anchorage and Talkeetna and Palmer and Homer.
Sure.
And when I did that, I thought, I can go other places.
I can be in other parts of Alaska.
Yeah.
Because you're Austin-based, right? Austin, Texas?
Austin, Texas, yeah.
Okay. And you have, you can go to mattheelectrician.com and you can read all about Matt, all his work, and you can find his music online everywhere.
Yeah.
And you have you have 11, is it 11 albums?
I think it's 11, might be 12.
11, 12? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a lot.
And is this little EP here, this little 45, is this new?
It is, yeah. That came out on opening day. It's got a big picture of a baseball and this is radio, but it is baseball themed. Both songs on the album are baseball themed, and it came out on opening day of baseball this year, which I believe was March 26th.
It's so
I see.
nerdy and awesome.
I love that.
I'm a very big baseball fan, and
That's awesome.
it's a pretty major part of my life. And as I get older, it's become more of a major part.
Yeah, you're even wearing a hat. I see that.
Well, this hat was from I just played in the Newport Folk Festival Celebrity All-Star Folk Softball game.
Oh, excellent.
Wow.
And so you got a hat. They gave me a hat, but and that was another kind of piece of my touring that gets more and more baseball centric. Like they were like, "Do you want to play the festival?" I'm like, "Sure, but what about the All-Star softball game? That's what I really."
Yeah. You're like,
Wow.
well, could I also play the seventh inning stretch? If I play the game, can I also sing a song? That would be kind of fun, right?
I'm trying to remember who did I was the least of the celebrities on these teams, but I think it was like Jenny Lewis or Nathaniel Rateliff did the seventh inning stretch. So I did not get to sing, but I will say I got more hits than either.
I was going to say, how'd your playing?
Yeah,
our team was good. We had members of Wolfpack and Wednesday and the Felice brothers, and we beat the other team pretty soundly.
Wow.
I love that.
So fun.
Okay, so Matt the Electrician, where does that name come from?
I was an electrician. I was a journeyman licensed electrician for about 10 years in Austin, Texas.
I see. And so did a lot of people know you as Matt the Electrician, and so that naturally became...
It kind of, yeah. It really, when I first moved to Austin, that was my day job for about 10 years. But I was also trying to kind of figure out the music scene there, and so I was playing a lot of open mics. And I would talk about my day from the stage, and I did often come straight from work to gigs, pretty rough, because it was like
wiring houses in Texas in the summer. So it's like
It's hot.
It's 100, outside, and then in the attic it's like 130.
You were a
140.
sweaty mess.
I was a sweaty mess, and so I would go, "Hey, look, I'm sorry, I'm an electrician." And I had a friend who said, "You ought to call yourself Matt the Electrician." I said, "That's a stupid idea. I'm not going to do that." And I swear, while we were talking about this in a restaurant, this guy came up to the table and he said, "Hey, you're the electrician guy, right?" And I thought I had maybe wired his house. And he said, "Oh, my son and I saw you at the Flipnotics open mic the other night." And he couldn't remember my name, but he remembered the electrician part. And so I thought, dang it, I think that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, your friend was right.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
That's really cool. I love that. And how long have you been playing music? Was it start when you were younger, like in the teenage years, or what?
Yeah, I started playing the trumpet when I was 5 years old, and I played that all through college. I actually went to college as a trumpet major. But when I was about 15, I started playing the guitar and writing songs because it seemed in high school like playing the trumpet wasn't getting me a lot of romantic action as much as I wanted. And so, and I saw a guy at school playing the guitar, and he had long hair.
Of course.
A cool jean jacket, and he knew how to play like Stairway to Heaven. And I was like, man. And
Yeah.
I went home and I asked my dad, my dad was a guitar player, and I said, "Can you teach me some chords?" And so he taught me some chords, and he gave me a Paul Simon and a Bob Dylan songbook, and I chose the Paul Simon songbook.
I love that. And how did that help the romantic front, being a guitar player?
It was pretty. I had a good time. In
He's
high
like,
school.
I did all right.
A lot of home runs, if you know what I mean.
It was a good time. And I had a weekly gig in high school starting maybe the next year. I was writing a lot of songs, and I had other friends that were writing songs. And little tiny town, coastal town in California, Central Coast. And we had a Sunday night gig, and we played every week. And that was when I was like 16.
I love that. And how's the music scene in Austin? It's pretty good, right?
It is. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin's like a mecca of arts, you know. I mean, it's a pretty cool town. I mean, you have like so many. I think I went there for the South by Southwest Film Festival one year.
Oh, okay.
And I just realized there's like so many bars per capita or whatever. There's like a lot of bars, so they need a lot of musicians.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of music. I mean, I moved there 30 years ago this year, and
Wow.
It's a very different city than it was then. It's much bigger. It's kind of, there's a lot more money.
The secret is out.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, but I will say the music scene is still thriving. There's just so much music there, and it's easy to get. There's a lot of people that live there that if you've lived there for a while, it's easy to become disillusioned or kind of upset that the thing that you had before is gone. And I think that can be true, but I think it's just we miss our youth, or we remember our youth fondly, and I think there's still just as much music. It's just a lot of us that are older don't go out as much. We don't see it all.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then things do change over time. It is interesting. It's like Juneau's the same way. You know, I think Taylor, like we have nostalgia for what it used to be. We think what it is now, but it's all similar, you know, for sure.
Totally.
But we love our little town. We love our music. I love that Taylor is starting to bring people in here. Singer-songwriter Matt the Electrician. You can he's on tour. You're going to be going to Ketchikan after this little stint here in Juneau. And then you can also catch Taylor this week on Saturday night as part of, we're going to have Cost on the show on Friday to talk about this, but there's a huge, giant Rob Reiner tribute show on Saturday night, and Taylor will be one of the many, many musicians who will be part of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be a cool thing we'll talk about more later this week. But maybe we could hear another tune. That first song was from this little Let's Play 245 called Like Love. But what are you going to play for us as we go out today?
Well, maybe I'll play. I don't have a Juneau song.
Oh.
Yet.
But you have a Ketchikan song?
I have a Ketchikan song. And that was because when I went to Ketchikan, I had a Japan song about touring in Japan, and some folks in Ketchikan were like, "Hey, why don't you write a song for us?" And I said,
"You said okay."
And I went home, and I wrote this song after being told the story of the Bridge to Nowhere.
Okay. Cool. Well, Matt gets back up to our red carpet stage. We'll just remind you that the show is tomorrow night at Amalga in the back room. You can go to taylorvidic.com to find out information and get yourself a ticket for that. It's a non-alcoholic show, so 18 and under. Yes, Taylor?
Yes, I looked. Doors are at 7. Shows at 7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Doors at 7. But we'll go out. What's this song called, Matt?
Oddly enough, this is called The Bridge to Nowhere.
The Bridge to Nowhere. This is Matt the Electrician live from the red carpet stage. These cool sounds. Go check them out tomorrow at Amalga Distillery. Take it away.
Was no such thing as a bridge to nowhere, 'cause there are two sides to everything, and I am wrong most of the time. There's a first time for everything. Oh, I have been to Ketchikan, Alaska. I was treated like a king, and I have been to New York City, and I have felt like nothing. You can walk on water. Yeah, well, you can walk all over me. 'Cause right now, I'm sinking fast into the ocean, and maybe just a bridge is all I need. Oh, I have almost never been fishing. I'm scared of the fishing hooks, and I have never wrestled a bear, but I have seen some pictures in books, and they don't care. In Ketchikan, Alaska, they just like me like I am, and they are building a bridge to nowhere, 'cause nowhere's close to Ketchikan. If you can walk on water, oh, you can walk all over me. 'Cause right now, I'm sinking fast into the ocean, and maybe just a bridge is all I need.
Matt the Electrician live here on Juneau Afternoon. Thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate it. Taylor, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good cheese.
Thanks for having me, Boston.
Absolutely. This is Juneau Afternoon on KTOO. Support for Juneau Afternoon comes from Heritage Coffee Roasting Company, providing Juneau with locally roasted coffee for over 40 years, with cafes and drive-through locations throughout Juneau. More at heritagecoffee.com. Support for Juneau Afternoon comes from Tongass Federal Credit Union, a member-owned financial cooperative offering checking and savings accounts, loans, and digital financial services. In Juneau at 8585 Old Dairy Road in the K Plaza and at tongassfcu.com, federally insured by NCUA.
I'm Dr. Anthony Lazarowitz, and this is Climate Connections. Planting trees in cities can provide vital cooling shade and create job opportunities. Emma Vieira is Executive Director of Unlimited Potential, a nonprofit in Phoenix. She says some low-income areas of the city get far hotter than others, with more concrete and asphalt that retain heat and less shade and green space.
Because of that, you have 10, 15 degrees difference between some areas and others.
And climate change is causing more extreme heat. So her group is partnering with Arizona State University, the city of Phoenix, and other organizations to plant trees in some of the most vulnerable neighborhoods. But getting trees in the ground is just the first step. To help those trees thrive, her group helps run a paid workforce development program to train residents of low-income areas in tree care. Participants learn to plant and prune trees, prevent disease, and safely climb trees to cut branches. So far, about 30 people have graduated from the 10-week program, and almost all are now employed. So Vieira says the program is helping build a healthy, thriving community.
We are improving life at the personal level, but also in the neighborhood.
Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. To learn more about climate change, visit climateconnections.org.
Welcome back to Juneau Afternoon from Studio 2K at KTOO. I'm your host, Boston Christopher, and it's time for another Garden Talk. This is Garden Talk here on Juneau Afternoon from KTOO, and I'm joined now by UAF Cooperative Extension Agent Darren Snyder. Gunneth Cheesh, Hot Yugidi, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you back, Darren.
Thank you, Boston. Great to be here.
Awesome. So we have a lot to talk about with gardens. We're in the middle of August. We were off for a little bit. You had some time away, so we're back now. And there's something that happened while we were gone, and there was a little bit of flooding out there in the valley. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about what happens with, the GLOF affecting especially those homes in the valley there.
Yeah, similar to previous years, some of the yards got inundated with some water. Fortunately, as we all know, the structures didn't get so impacted, but anywhere that there was water that came in may have run over the surface from one point to another, then that is something that as gardeners we want to be aware of and maybe take a little bit of precautionary measures when we have that going on.
Okay, and what kind of precaution measures can we take?
Well, first off, they're all related to what's getting transported from point A to point B. Like, we just make sure generally as gardeners that we're not, spilling fuel or having an animal waste in our gardens. We don't do that. If there's something like that going on, then it's usually a bigger deal. And in this case, if there is water that has gone from one point to another, we really don't know. Is it carrying some kind of gasoline or or feces from a neighbor's yard? And is there? It's just kind of mysterious. And so in that case, if our garden that we're going to be eating out of did get flooded, then we really, this is just kind of a public service message here that we should not be consuming those vegetables directly. So that includes greens, it includes root vegetables, and though you may make your own personal choice on this, the official message is that we don't even want to just wash it off and call it good, because there can be just unknown concerns.
Right, because you're bringing all that water from wherever, right? We just don't know where it came from, that kind of thing.
Yeah, even though it's clean water from where it started, it could have picked stuff up along the way as it goes from yard to yard. That's the concern.
I see. Okay, and then is there anything we can do for those folks in future years to prep before, because this flooding is not going anyway anytime soon? Is there things you could do for your garden before the flood happens?
Yeah, some of the things, if you do have the ability to plant in containers, if you're in an area that this may occur next year, if you just invest in some containers, some pots that are movable, so when this time comes, you can up and lift them away. That's one strategy. If you have trees. You don't need to be concerned about fruit that's up in the canopy. So if you're choosing to grow something, you want something you can eat. You can grow some apples or cherries or something like that up in the that's going to be above the floodwaters, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if you did have some water that came into your garden, there are some things that can help to just promote that. If there are like microorganisms like E. coli or Salmonella or viruses or parasites that may have gotten in there, it's not likely, but in any case, you want to give those things some time. And if you add compost and if you add things like seaweed to it, it's just going to increase the biological activity and increase the organisms in the soil that are going to be consuming those kind of invader organisms and diluting it, and also just making sure that your pH is higher, kind of towards the towards neutral. So a lot of times our soils are acidic, and but if we bring them up through liming to a more neutral zone, then there's just more biological activity that's going to be going on there that's going to help kind of break down some of these materials.
I see. Okay, so you want to give it some time.
Yeah.
And is there something that you would do now after the flood? I mean, if let's say it's a wash for your garden this year because you want to be, extra careful, is there something you can do to your soil now that you would, since you wouldn't be, harvesting those vegetables or those goods, would you do something to the soil now that might help in the next summer?
Yeah, I think it's mostly just kind of general best practices. Again, that liming is what we all need to be generally doing.
Yeah.
But getting a soil test just for the nutrients and the pH is always what I recommend, because whether you've been inundated or not with water, just so you know what you want to add in order for it to be a most kind of healthy and fertile soil. There, as far as like if there were metals that went in there, or some of these other organisms that that are like disease-causing organisms for humans, then there are tests for those. But I wouldn't generally recommend people going through that process unless they have a large budget or a higher need. But as we go into the season, I would generally feel comfortable myself planting things that are going to be harvested in the in the following year. So like even garlic, I would still probably plant that myself. Again, like there's you're not going to be harvesting that. You're not going to be harvesting that until a year from now. So I generally feel fine with that, even if I suspect that maybe there's like some, E. coli or something like that came in this last, flood. I would just generally also just be careful of when we have these just unknown soils, and when it gets dusty, because it has been pretty dry, but that was kind of before the flood. I guess that we did have this pretty dry spell since then. Even that it can be carried in the dust as well. So you just want to not track it in to your house, and you want to be kind of generally clean with stuff. You don't want to be breathing a bunch of dust that could be could have materials in there that you don't want. And if you are going to be planting your garlic, I suggest you use clean seed, that you don't use the seed that you pulled out of the ground. That's mostly, if you know that you're in the areas that are going to get flooded, you might want to consider, going to a more ornamental landscape. And again, and plant your edibles in containers that you can move and make sure they don't get flooded by the waters.
That's good advice. Okay. So, and then maybe at this time, we're in the middle of August 2026. what are we thinking about for the general gardeners who don't live in the valley? What's going on right now in that world?
Oh, yeah, so much. Now, granted, we have a lot of different microclimates within even the Juneau area. So different gardens are at different stages, but a lot of folks have already harvested their garlic. If your garlic's not harvested, then you probably want to be getting to that real quick. One of the things that you to pay attention to is that when you see green leaves, each one of those leaves it indicates a wrap around your bulb, that all the cloves there. So you want to make sure those don't all turn brown by the time you harvest, or else I speak from experience that there won't be any left around all those cloves, and they're certainly edible, and that's fine. But they're not going to be wrapped in a nice bulb for the coming season if you want to store them for a while and have them later. But yeah, just doing your general garden harvest, your things. Don't let all that work go to waste. Get things before if they're looking like they're ready, then go for it. Get those things harvested before, especially your greens flower. Or anything like that, because then they start getting more bitter. So you want to get them while they're fresh, because it's a lot of work to grow these things. You want to make sure you make best use of your harvest.
You were saying that there's different climates around town, and different people harvest at a different time. When does the season wrap up? Does it wrap up sort of late September, early October? Is that when people are kind of finishing around, or is it a little bit earlier than that?
It kind of does it when nature brings their storms. So, so as we know, it can start getting pretty stormy in the next couple weeks, or even month or so from now. So, mid-September is we can even get pretty colder weather then, and even cold snaps. Our first freezes can even happen in September, mid to late September. So that kind of does indicate the end of the season for most people. You can still plant like garlic and other bulbs during that time, and that's the right time to be doing it. You can also go and go to some of our local nursery folks and get some plants to plant in the future for the future seasons. So come fall, that's the time to be. You can be planting so that they establish their roots during the fall time, and so they're ready for the spring. Love it when it comes. Yeah.
Cool. Darren Snyder from the UAF Cooperative Extension. Now, I know you have on your website, you just search UAF Cooperative Extension, you have like multitudes of articles and PDFs that people can download, tips and tricks and best practices, right? And
absolutely.
And is there any one that you would want us to download right now as we enter this part of the time?
We have an excellent resource on preparing for the fall and winter, and there are a couple, quite a few things involved with that, and maybe we should come on and focus on those.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should definitely
garden talk.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely talk about preparing for the fall and the winter. Darren, thanks for coming back on the show. Another episode of Garden Talk. I really appreciate you being here and giving us some post-GLOF coverage of what we can do with our gardens.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Boston. Appreciate it.
G'naf cheesh.
Cheesh.
Support from Hanson Gress, seeking curious people who like technology, network engineering, and customer support. Opportunities for those who thrive on problem solving. Details at hansongress.com/careers.
On an October night in San Francisco, all the flags were flying in. No moon in the sky but the stadium lights, looking for a Giants win. In the bottom of the first, In the second game, Matt Holliday hit Marco Scutaro, sliding into second base. No calls were made. They kept on playing. On an October night in San Francisco, with the fog rolling in, all the stocking caps were orange and black, and the seagulls hanging on the wind. And the wind, it changed in the bottom of the fourth. All tied up with the bases loaded, up comes Scutaro, of course, and he hit it at Holiday, and it went right through his legs. You couldn't make this up if it wasn't happening. Someone should write this down so everyone can sing. Oh, the Ballad of Marco Scutaro, yeah, the Ballad of Marco Scutaro.
Marco Scutaro was born in Venezuela and came all the way to the U.S. to play baseball at the age of 19. By the time he was playing with the San Francisco Giants in 2012, he had played on 5 other major league teams and 2 teams as a minor leaguer. And he was 36 years old, which is old for baseball. He was a lifer, a utility infielder, a solid hitter, a player to be named later. And eventually, he was an all-star, an MVP, and a World Series champion.
And the Giants won, and the Cardinals lost, but the Giants lost the next 2. Down 3-1, feeling almost done. They were singing the St. Louis Blues. But Scutaro kept getting hits, something just sort of clicked, and they stayed alive, shut him out in Game 5, and they went ahead and took Game 6. And back in the city by the bay, one more game to play. You couldn't make this up if it wasn't happening.
That's a little bit more of Matt the Electrician with the Ballad of Marco Scutaro from his little 2-cut 45, Let's Play 2. You can find Matt the Electrician online anywhere, and also tomorrow night at Amalgam Distillery with Taylor Dallas Vidic. It was great to have them in the studio. This is Juneau Afternoon from your listener-supported public media station, KTOO. I'm your host, Boston Christopher, and we have a very special guest here today. UAS Masters of Public Administration is a graduate degree for people pursuing or advancing leadership work in government, tribal/public entities, and nonprofit organizations. The program is designed to be practical rather than purely theoretical. And joining the faculty this fall is Meghan Holtan, who joins me now here in the studio. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here, Meghan. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And welcome to Juneau.
Yes, it's a beautiful place.
And you arrived here you were living up in Anchorage?
Yeah, I live in Anchorage, and I'll continue to live in Anchorage because all the classes are online, so they're accessible to students both in the Southeast, and then we have students from around the state as well. So
I did notice that the program, everything's online, so people can access it from anywhere.
Yeah, it's really designed for people who are, working professionals who need to have that education meet them where they are. So yeah.
I see. So it's based here at UAS,
yes.
But you can take the classes anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and then
really
you can
cool.
have teachers from everywhere. So I will be in Anchorage, but coming down to Juneau regularly.
Is there any part of how you have those online programs where you have to be in residence for a week, a year or something? Is there something like that?
Not in the MPA program. It is entirely online.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of awesome. So tell me a little bit about this public administration program and why someone would want to pursue that degree.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times people are seeking that degree in order to fill perhaps gaps in their knowledge. Maybe they've been put into a leadership role in an entity that is either in the public sector, the nonprofit sector, or the tribal sector, and maybe they want to fill in some skill gaps. Sometimes people go to get that degree in order to get access to a salary increase because it is it's a recognized credential, the MPA.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows people to move, for example, perhaps from direct service up into an administrative position within their organization. So it's kind of helping people take that next step in their career.
So sometimes I feel like and I've been in the nonprofit world my whole life.
Okay,
and
yeah.
sometimes I feel like it's, people get into the nonprofit world in whatever which way it might happen, and then they just learn on the job, and they're sort of going up and, rising up the ranks, becoming a manager, and then maybe end up leading the organization. And some of those people never actually taken a course in public administration. And so I'm curious about, like, what's the benefit of getting the degree? Does it take you through, like, case studies and, like, problem solving? And what are the things that you're going to be learning in this program?
Well, I think there's a couple things. It gives students the space to be able to think more critically around their own work. So a lot of the assignments that students end up having are bringing real world work from their workplaces and be able to bring it and discuss it with their peers who are, again, based all over the state, so that there's that peer learning. But then they're also able to learn concrete skills like, program evaluation, for example, or the HR piece, or I'll be teaching public policy and accountability. So perhaps you're in radio, but you're interested in understanding how policy gets made related to how public radio is funded, being able to, like, fill those gaps to sort of kind of connect the holes, just because public administration, like you said, ends up hitting a lot of different types of skill sets. And a lot of times people come in with, like, that passion for the content area.
Right.
But it's like a set of skills that allow you to, work effectively in sort of the bureaucracy that is being in the public sector.
Right. Yeah, I guess because, like you said, a lot of professionals who are already in management or in that situation maybe come to the program for some guidance and some additional skill building.
Yeah. Or so I'm being brought on, my PhD is in urban and regional planning. I'm a planner. So that's like a new skill that I'm bringing to the MPA program. And I think in Alaska, in local government, sometimes you have just one or two people who are really running that local government, and they are the grant writer and the city administrator and the planner and all of these things. So it's like they have that hands-on experience, but I'm hoping to offer, a planning course so people can sort of, okay, so, like, what is the story of planning? What is zoning? Like, why would I want mixed use versus residential, to sort of allow people to get access also to the content area that they might not have because they're wearing so many hats in small town Alaska.
All those things you just said, I have no idea what those are.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the thing I would be learning is, like, because you hear, like, zoning, you hear these things over time, but you don't necessarily know what that means.
Yeah.
Or that there's, like, I had somebody on recently for the flood and her job at the city is to build the maps for the flood. And I was like, there's somebody who's doing that job, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's somebody who's planning out how we have the new intersection at Vanderbilt and Egan, right? In terms of what they just did there to manage the workflow of the traffic. And there's people who are doing those jobs, and those are things that people could do in terms of urban planning and things like that. You don't even think about it sometimes.
No, exactly. Whenever groups of people are living together, they are going to have to work together. So planning and public administration is that skill that helps people sort of work together effectively within, like, these larger systems that they may or may not agree with, right? So, like, how to come together around, like, bringing the science and the politics and the funding around, like, how you get that road in where you want it.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun work. I had no idea that this was a job option when I was in high school. And but there's there's a lot of work in the public sector, and then, of course, the nonprofit sector.
Okay, but we have to talk about the fact that you were a clown, because I teased that in the opening at the top of the show.
Okay.
So that you were a clown, and then you went to school, like, in 2012 or something, right? To switch it up. So, but you have some really good lateral skills that came from clowning that are applying to the work that you're doing. So tell me a little bit about how you decided, to go from clowning into this kind of work. Let's start there.
Yeah, okay. So in my 20s, I realized that it was going to be very hard for me to make a living as a clown in Alaska for many reasons.
I love that.
The professional development opportunities. Anyways, I'm from here. I wanted to stay here.
Sure.
And that it was just too hard to make that swing, when you're thinking sort of a little bit longer term, where you're like, family.
As a clown, would you have to go, like, join a circus somewhere and be touring
I did have a traveling circus, and then I toured around the state and did the Artists in the Schools program. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
For sure.
Yeah, so I went out to Cold Bay when they had a school out there.
I see.
Badger Road Elementary in Fairbanks, Seldovia. So I was kind of all over the state with the Artists in Schools program. so I decided that I needed to pivot, and I was doing this art project in downtown Anchorage where I was commuting on stilts, dressed in sort of office drag, journaling about my experience of the built environment. And when I was doing that, I sort of started to like think more about just the built environment and how that comes to be. And I sort of started to think about planning. And there's actually this overlap that I've noticed between the audience participation in like a street show or really good physical theater, where you're really like the audience is a huge part of what makes that show work, right? Like without an audience, you don't have theater. Similarly, without a public, you don't have public administration, or you don't have that public participation. So there's like similar threads between engaging the audience in theater and engaging the audience in a good participatory process that leads to like this collective experience, right? One is more temporal, one is more physical and tangible, but I feel like that sort of drive to engage the audience has carried through from my early career as a circus artist to my career now. My career as a planner and then now as an educator.
Right.
I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, for sure. That's so cool. And have you met our local, do you know Darius Marino or Robin Gray Davis? You need to meet those guys if you haven't met them.
Yeah, I took a class with Scott, his brother. I also, I was a counselor for one summer at the Sitka Fine Arts Camp.
Okay.
And Scott was doing a mime class, so of course I took his mime class. So yeah, I'm familiar. I mean, I don't know them well, but
Yeah. That's kind of
Juneau
cool.
It was exciting to get a job here just because of the strength of the theater community here. So I'm excited for that.
Are you still able to do you do any clowning anymore?
Yeah, so my work my creative practice has gone more in the way of like public installations. So again, this winter in Anchorage, I was doing these installations that was thermal imaging of dance and circus arts. So like the infrared heat imaging that we'd project on buildings in downtown Anchorage to sort of draw attention to like the performance of energy within space. So I'm sort of more interested in like really interdisciplinary art that sort of brings in the policy conversation with circus, with public space, that I'm obviously still here learning how to articulate what it is. But that's kind of where my creative practice is going.
No, but that's kind of cool. I like that. That's kind of interesting. We'll have to follow that. You'll have to come back and tell us more about the work that you're doing in that space. And then I also want to mention your work on climate impacts to housing in Alaska. This is some research that's being funded by NOAA. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what you're doing with that?
Yeah, so that was my research project during my graduate program through my PhD. So I worked with Cold Climate Housing Research Center, and it was funded by NOAA, and we worked with an advisory panel of housing providers across the state to develop these tools to assess housing for climate impacts. And part of that was just first trying to understand how climate was impacting housing in Alaska, just to have sort of like a one-stop document. And we have like a webinar to be like, okay, it's not only climate change isn't affecting just the physical structure, but it's affecting how we build housing, how boats and how and when boats are able to bring materials, up to construction. So it's changing our construction seasons, it's changing the operations and maintenance, and it's changing where, especially in Southeast Alaska, where we're able to build because of the landslides and then, the glacial outburst flooding.
I see.
That was really like an assessment type report. So we did that first piece, and the second piece was really working with housing providers to understand. So given these impacts, how do we go and think about what works? I'm using air quotes here. But,
what works and then affects public policy.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
and then by extension, like how do nonprofit and public housing providers and private housing, developers decide how do they learn from what has worked and what hasn't worked. So I'm really interested in that sort of like how do we learn from each other about what works in housing in our state. So that's kind of like my research area right now. And
you're going to keep working on that area?
Oh, yeah. Housing policy is definitely the piece that I'm, most interested in as far as, just because it is the center of so many things, right? It's,
Well, it's interesting to me, too, how when you look at stuff like that, and I've had different folks on here for different things, and it's always like one thing affects another, then it's like, it's the trail, right? And it's like the climate can affect the housing, like you're saying, it affects like construction time, it can materials, what kind of materials you're going to use, and then that affects the price potentially, and then where do we build those, and that affects public policy, just the web of that, right?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, thank you. I love housing. I think it's lovely because it's very tangible.
Yeah.
But also it has like sort of all these other, other meanings, and you can really bring a lot of people to the table, like behavioral health and the hospital system and the building industry and, arts, all of these things, need housing at community scale to be successful.
That is so cool. So what classes will you be teaching for the public administration program?
So this fall, I am teaching applied research methods. So that's like the sort of nuts and bolts of research skills that public administrators use in their everyday. So it's like interviews and some light geographic analysis and content analysis, so that sort of thing, leadership and ethics. And then in the springtime, I will be teaching public policy and accountability. And then I think I'll be teaching 2 special topics classes, one in housing policy, which will be focused on housing here in the Southeast, but also kind of statewide, and then a little bit of Northern Canada, just because the University of the Yukon also there's an exchange program there where folks from Canada can also take classes here. And then I think a planning class, so urban and regional planning in the North. It's kind of the nuts and bolts of like you said, like what is zoning? What is that? Why do we have so many strip malls? Why are all our good restaurants in strip malls? That sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's where we're leaning. The program's been super welcoming and is, they're excited to let me take some creative agency with the classes that I teach in the spring.
That's great.
So I'm teaching a mix of core classes that have always been part of the program and then bringing my own sort of research and interests and background.
How long will you be in Juneau this time around?
I'm just here till Friday,
Okay.
but happy to talk with people about planning. I'm excited about collaborating with organizations in Southeast.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a program, UAS's Master of Public Administration program, that you can take from anywhere.
Yeah.
It's all online. All the classes are online. And so you can let people know who maybe don't live in Juneau that this program is available if they're interested in this, or if they're working in government, tribal, public entities, nonprofit organizations. I think it's just a good opportunity to expand, whether you're already working in that area or you want to work in that area.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's so cool. Meghan Holtan, I hope you'll come back next time you're in Juneau. Catch us up on some of this. What I want to keep track of is the housing.
Yeah.
Like that's a really interesting thing. Like all the things that are happening in public policy, the climate change, all those things. If you have new things in those areas, please reach out. We'd love to hear more.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah,
I'll be back
absolutely.
in the spring.
Meghan Holtan from UAS, thank you so much for joining us today. Gwyneth Cheesh.
Thanks.
This is Juneau Afternoon on KTOO. That's going to do it for today's Juneau Afternoon. On tomorrow's show, artist Jill Castine on her recent national grant from the Native Arts and Culture Foundation. She'll talk about what she's going to be doing with that grant. Juneau Afternoon airs Wednesday through Friday at 3 p.m. right here on KTO Juneau 104.3 and KAUK Juneau Akbay 91.7. You can find the show online at kto.org/Juneau Afternoon. You can also find live stream archives of the show on KTO's YouTube page. Our theme music is by Indian Agent. I'm Boston Christopher, producer and host of the program, with help today from Aaron Tripp. Gwyneth Cheesh, have a fantastic Wednesday. It's good to be back.